Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as she faced the overwhelming horde. The rocky plateau beneath her feet shook with the march of hundreds of alien soldiers, their strange, jagged weapons glinting under the twin suns of her world. She had fought many battles in her life, but nothing had prepared her for this. Her energy spear hummed in her hands, a weapon she had trusted for years. Yet the enemies kept coming, endless as the wind. She spun to strike, thrusting the spear with deadly precision. A raider lunged at her, and she met him with a flash of her weapon. Sparks flew, and the alien cried out as he fell. But for everyone she struck down, 2 more replaced him. Her chest burned from exertion, and her arms felt like stone. Yet she refused to back down. Lyra's spear hummed, energy surging along its length, ready for her next strike. Then, with a sharp, terrifying snap, the weapon shattered. The pieces fell to the ground, leaving her defenseless. She stared at her hands in disbelief. The raiders around her roared, sensing weakness. Panic threatened to rise in her chest, but Lyra pushed it down. She was the princess warrior of her world. She had faced death before, and she would not fall here. Drawing a dagger from her belt, she prepared to fight hand-to-hand. But there were too many of them. She could see their cruel faces, hear their taunts in a language she did not understand. She knew this fight would end in death if help did not arrive soon. Then it happened. A shadow passed over the battlefield. Lyra glanced up just in time to see a figure hurtling from the sky, spinning like a falling star. The wind screamed past her ears. She instinctively ducked, but the figure landed in the middle of the enemy horde. Not 10 meters away from her, the raiders stopped, frozen in shock. Their eyes widened at the sight of the newcomer. Lyra's jaw dropped. He was human. He stood tall, unscathed, dusting off his dark suit that glimmered with strange metallic panels. In one smooth motion, he pulled a sleek weapon from his back, a long rifle unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Then he turned to her, his expression calm, even amused. "Mind if I join the fight?" he said casually. Lyra blinked. Her enemies blinked. No one moved. The sheer audacity of the human's words, spoken in the heat of battle, stunned everyone. Then, with shocking speed, he fired. Each shot found its mark. Aliens fell one after another, not from strength alone, but from the precision and cleverness of his attacks. He moved differently than any warrior Lyra had seen. He didn't charge recklessly. He didn't rely on brute strength. He anticipated, adapted, and used the terrain to his advantage. Lyra felt a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. Carefully, she rose, her dagger in hand. Her eyes met his across the battlefield. He gave her a small, confident nod. Without hesitation, she lunged into the fray, striking the raiders with renewed vigor. The human fought like a whirlwind. He used strange devices to disable weapons, drop enemies off balance, and even set small traps that exploded in harmless but terrifying bursts of light and sound. The raiders screamed in confusion and fear. It was as if their own instincts betrayed them. Lyra ducked a swipe from a jagged blade, rolled forward, and slashed the enemy behind her. Then, catching a glimpse of the human, she realized he was moving closer, covering her flank. Every time she was about to be overwhelmed, he was there, turning the tide with a clever move, a well-placed strike, or an improvised weapon. Despite her pride, she couldn't help but admire him. Who was this human? How had he arrived at this exact moment? Why did he seem so fearless? She had trained with the finest warriors of her planet. Yet this single human moved as if he had been born for the battlefield itself. The enemies began to falter. The raiders' coordinated attack broke into chaos. Some screamed and fled, others dropped their weapons and ran. Overwhelmed by the strange, unpredictable fighting style of the human dot, Lyra seized the moment. She leaped into the center of the enemy's formation, dagger flashing. The human followed, firing shots that disrupted any organized attack. Together, they became an unstoppable force. Lyra's precise strikes and his inventive tactics complemented each other perfectly. A raider commander, larger than the rest and wielding a double-edged blade, charged toward Lyra. She blocked the first swing and parried the second, but her arms were tired. She gritted her teeth, prepared for the fight of her life. Then, with a swift movement, the human intervened. He tripped the commander with a clever maneuver and fired a device that immobilized him temporarily. Lyra didn't wait. She struck, incapacitating the commander. Around them, the remaining raiders began to retreat, their morale shattered. Lyra stood among the battlefield, panting, bruised, and exhausted. She looked at the human, who was calmly reloading his weapon, as if he had just finished a routine practice. You're incredible, she said, still catching her breath. He shrugged, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. I do what I can, he said simply. For the first time in years, Lyra felt hope. Perhaps with this human by her side, her world might stand a chance against the relentless raiders. The human's eyes scanned the battlefield. Where do we go next? He asked, already thinking ahead. Lyra shook her head in disbelief. Next, we plan. They will return, and we need to be ready. He nodded. Sounds like a plan. But first, he gestured at the destroyed energy spear in her hands. We might need better weapons. Lyra allowed herself a small laugh, despite the exhaustion. Yes, better weapons. And perhaps a better plan. Together, they began moving through the battlefield, tending to wounded allies, and gathering what supplies they could salvage. The twin suns dipped lower, casting long shadows over the plateau. Though the battle was over, the war was far from finished. As they walked, Lyra couldn't help but study the human. He was tall, strong, and unafraid. His eyes held a calm determination, but also a curiosity, as if everything around him was a puzzle he intended to solve. She realized that humans, at least this human, fought differently than anyone she had ever known. He relied on ingenuity, clever tactics, and a calm mind. Rather than sheer strength or tradition, perhaps this was why he had survived the fall from the sky. Perhaps this was why he could stand in the middle of hundreds of raiders without fear. Lyra made a silent vow. She would not let this human fall. She would fight alongside him, learn from him, and together they would protect their world. The first night after the battle, they camped atop a cliff overlooking the city the raiders had fled from. Fires dotted the landscape below, smoldering from the fight. Lyra and the human sat in silence for a while, listening to the crackle of flames and the distant cries of retreating raiders. I don't even know your name, Lyra said finally. Alex, he replied simply. And you are? Lyra, she answered. Princess of this world. Warrior. Alex raised an eyebrow. Princess, huh? I like it. That makes you someone worth saving. Lyra felt a strange warmth at his words. She wasn't used to humans or anyone showing admiration in such a casual way. There was no fear, no flattery, just honesty. They spoke long into the night, exchanging stories of their lives, their battles, and their worlds. Lyra learned that humans had a strange resilience, a way of surviving impossible odds through cleverness and courage. Alex learned about Lyra's world, its people, and the relentless threat the raiders posed. As dawn approached, Lyra felt a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. Perhaps the arrival of this human was not chance. Perhaps it was fate. And perhaps, together, they could turn the tide of war. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the plateau in gold. Lyra's heart beat steadily. She had faced despair, felt the weight of her shattered spear, and seen the world around her almost crumble. But now she had a human by her side. And for the first time, she believed that even against impossible odds, victory was possible, and somewhere deep inside, she wondered if the human knew just how much his arrival had changed everything. The morning sun bathed the plateau in warm light, revealing the extent of the previous day's battle. Bodies of raiders and wreckage of their strange vehicles were scattered across the rocky terrain. Lyra and Alex moved carefully, checking the wounded and salvaging weapons from the debris. Even after the chaos of yesterday, neither of them rested fully. They knew this victory was only temporary. The raiders would return, stronger and more determined than ever. Lyra noticed the way Alex examined everything. His eyes scanned the battlefield not like a warrior, but like someone solving a puzzle. Every fallen weapon, every ruined barricade, Every scar in the earth seemed to tell him a story. "You notice a lot," Lyra said, breaking the silence. Alex shrugged. "It's useful. The battlefield teaches you more than any training room ever could." Ada nodded thoughtfully. She had learned the hard way that experience was valuable, but Alex's perspective was different. He saw not just what happened, but what could happen, and how to change it. They walked toward the city that had been the raiders' temporary base. Its walls were tall and jagged, made from black metal and crystal-like material that shimmered under the sun. Lyra had attacked smaller outposts before, but this was different. This fortress was the heart of the raiders' operations in her region. Taking it would not only weaken their enemies, it would send a message. Her world would not be conquered. As they approached, Alex paused. "We need a plan," he said. "Charging straight in will get us killed," Lyra agreed. "We'll need strategy. We fight smarter, not just harder." She began walking alongside him, explaining the fortress layout. "The main gate is heavily guarded, but there are side passages. Narrow tunnels, weak points in the walls. We could use them to enter undetected." Alex nodded. "Good. And once inside, we can create distractions. Take out guards silently. Confuse them. Your skills combined with some human tactics might be unstoppable." Lyra studied him. "Human tactics?" she asked, curious. Alex smiled. "We like to improvise. Think outside the box. Sometimes the weirdest ideas work best." Lyra couldn't help but feel impressed. Humans, at least this human, had a strange bravery. Not reckless, but creative. Bold without being foolish, they spent the morning scouting. Lyra moved through the shadows, agile and quiet, while Alex used small devices to scan for traps and monitor enemy movements. They discovered the raiders were preparing reinforcements, sending signals to nearby camps. The fortress would soon be surrounded by more soldiers. Waiting too long would be dangerous. That afternoon, they returned to a hidden canyon to plan. Lyra set down her dagger and pulled out a crude map of the fortress. "Here," she said, pointing. "The tunnels lead under the main gate. If we can enter here, we might take out the gate from the inside. It's risky, but possible." Alex examined the map carefully. "We'll need tools. Explosives. Smoke devices? Traps?" Lyra shook her head. "Not enough time to prepare everything. But we can use the environment. The tunnels have unstable supports. If we collapse them strategically, we can block enemies or create distractions." Alex's eyes lit up. "Perfect. I love using the enemy's own structures against them." For the next few hours, they trained together. Lyra practiced hand-to-hand combat with Alex, teaching him to anticipate alien movement. Alex showed her how to improvise traps using rocks, wires, and small devices from his suit. Lyra was surprised by how quickly he learned. In no time, they had a rhythm. Lyra striking with precision, Alex setting up tactical advantages and distractions. As the sun dipped low, they decided to rest for the night, hiding in a small cave near the city. They ate rations quietly, listening to the distant hum of alien activity. Lyra felt a strange calm sitting beside Alex. His presence was reassuring, like a silent promise that they were not alone. "Do humans fight like this often?" Lyra asked, softly breaking the quiet. Alex shrugged. "Not always. But some of us adapt. We survive by thinking, by being clever. I guess it's my way of helping." Lyra smiled faintly. "You've helped more than you know. You saved my life." Alex looked at her and nodded. "And you saved mine too. I didn't plan to fall into a war on a distant planet, but here I am." Lyra felt a bond forming. They were different from different worlds, yet together they made a powerful team. She realized that this human could not only fight, but he could inspire hope in those who had none left. The next morning, they moved closer to the fortress, keeping low and avoiding patrols. Lyra led Alex through narrow crevices and shadowed paths, showing him how to move silently. They reached the edge of the tunnels that would lead under the main gate. Alex paused. "Ready for this?" Lyra drew a deep breath. We have to be. There's no turning back now. Inside the tunnels, darkness surrounded them. The air was damp and heavy, filled with the echoes of distant footsteps and alien voices. Lyra's dagger glowed faintly, lighting the path ahead. Alex moved beside her, scanning for traps and listening carefully. They reached the first guard post, a small chamber where 2 raiders rested. Lyra signaled to Alex. He nodded and used a small device to create a soft, blinding flash. The guards were disoriented, and Lyra moved in silently. Taking them down with precision, they continued deeper, using the tunnels to bypass the fortress's main defenses. Alex's gadgets helped disable alarms and monitor enemy movement. Together, they were unstoppable. Lyra's skill and speed complemented Alex's ingenuity perfectly. Finally, they reached the underside of the main gate. Lyra inspected the supports. If we collapse this section, the gate will be blocked. And most of the reinforcements will be delayed, she said. Alex set his devices carefully, testing the structure. Ready? He said. Lyra nodded. They moved back just as a small explosion rocked the gate. Dust and debris filled the air. The gate's supports collapsed, trapping soldiers inside and causing chaos above. The fortress erupted in confusion. Alarms blared and raiders ran in panic. Lyra and Alex emerged from the tunnels, striking at guards with precision. Lyra's dagger danced, each movement deadly and exact. Alex improvised, using traps and small explosive devices to control the battlefield. The raiders, expecting a normal assault, were completely unprepared for the humans' tactics. They fell into traps, stumbled into barricades, and retreated in disarray. Lyra marveled at Alex's calm, clever mind, even amidst chaos. By midday, they had cleared a large section of the fortress. Lyra's people, who had been hiding nearby, joined the fight, inspired by the humans' bravery and ingenuity. The tide was turning. What seemed impossible yesterday was now within reach. During a brief pause, Lyra and Alex looked over the battlefield. Smoke rose from destroyed weapons and vehicles. The raiders' morale was broken. Their commanders were in disarray. You've done more than I could imagine, Lyra said, her voice filled with awe. Alex smiled. Though he was exhausted, we did it together. Your skill, whatever this is, makes a good team. Eva laughed softly. I've never met anyone like you. Alex shrugged. I'm not that special. I just think differently. Lyra realized that thinking differently was exactly what they needed. Humans had a unique way of seeing the world, a creativity that even the most experienced alien warriors could not anticipate. As night fell, they retreated to a safe location to plan the final assault. Lyra felt a strange mix of excitement and determination. Tomorrow, they would strike at the heart of the raiders' power, ending their threat once and for all. And with Alex by her side, she knew victory was possible. They shared a quiet moment, looking at the stars above. Lyra felt hope rising within her. The human had not only saved her life, but had given her people a chance to fight back, to survive, to reclaim their world. Alex looked at the fortress in the distance, his eyes steady. Tomorrow, we finish this, he said. Lyra nodded. Tomorrow, we show them the strength of our world and the courage of humanity. The night passed filled with quiet preparation and cautious optimism. They rested as much as they could, knowing the coming battle would test everything they had learned. But for the first time in a long time, Lyra felt that the impossible might be possible. With a human by her side, nothing could stand in their way. Dawn broke over the fortress like a promise. The sky glowed pink and gold, and the wind carried the distant cries of retreating raiders from the previous battles. Lyra and Alex crouched behind a rocky ridge overlooking the fortress. The entire stronghold sprawled below them. Black metal walls shimmering in the early light, towers bristling with alien weapons. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and tension. Ready? Lyra whispered, gripping her dagger. Her muscles were tense, her heart pounding, but there was no fear. Only focused, Alex checked his devices. As ready as we'll ever be? Let's finish this. The plan was simple, but dangerous. They would split into two, teams Lyra leading the front assault, Alex handling the traps, distractions, and sabotage. Their goal was to take down the fortress's command center and defeat the raiders' leaders. With silent coordination, they moved. Lyra and her group approached the side entrance, navigating the shadows. Alex followed, using small gadgets to disable alarms, trip patrols, and create confusion among the guards. Every move was calculated, precise, and effective. The first wave of guards appeared. Lyra struck like a shadow, her dagger flashing, her movements swift and deadly. She disarmed, incapacitated, and evaded with perfect timing. Behind her, Alex triggered small explosions and smoke devices that sent enemies running in panic. The raiders had never faced anything like this, a combination of precision combat and clever disruption. In the command hall, the raider commanders gathered. They had heard reports of strange human tactics, but dismissed them as coincidence. That mistake would cost them dearly. Lyra and Alex moved through corridors, encountering soldiers at every turn. Lyra's skill was unmatched in close combat, but it was Alex's creativity that gave them the advantage. He used mirrors to redirect light and blind enemies, wires to trip soldiers, and small devices to mimic sounds from other parts of the fortress. The chaos disoriented the raiders. They couldn't predict the humans' next move at one point. A group of elite raiders cornered Lyra. Their blades were sharp, their armor thick. She moved with all her strength, striking and dodging, but their numbers pressed hard. Just as a raider lunged at her, Alex appeared from the shadows, launching a device that ensnared the attackers in a web of energy. Lyra finished the fight quickly, her dagger precise and lethal. "You're amazing," Lyra said, breathless. Alex grinned. "We're amazing." They pressed on, deeper into the fortress. They passed hallways filled with alien technology, chambers of strange glowing crystals, and rooms stocked with weapons. Alex studied everything with fascination, already thinking of ways to use the environment to their advantage. Finally, they reached the command center, a large chamber with towering consoles and a central podium. The raider leaders were there, shouting orders, confident that their fortress was secure. Lyra and Alex exchanged a glance. It was now or never. Lyra burst through the doors, her dagger gleaming. She moved like a storm, striking at the nearest commander, dodging counterattacks, and using her agility to stay out of reach. The raiders' confidence faltered as they realized this attack was unlike any they had faced. Meanwhile, Kesa set up his devices around the room. Small drones buzzed into the air, creating distractions and confusion. Energy barriers flickered and collapsed. Lights flashed in unpredictable patterns. The commanders tried to regain control, but every move they made was anticipated by Alex. Lyra fought fiercely, her movements fluid and deadly. She disarmed one commander, blocked another's strike, and pushed forward. Her strength and courage inspired the remaining raiders to hesitate, giving Alex the opening he needed. With careful precision, Alex activated his final device. A controlled shockwave rippled through the chamber, knocking raiders off balance and disabling their weapons temporarily. Lyra seized the moment, striking at the main commander with flawless timing. The leader fell, stunned and defeated. The remaining raiders, now leaderless and disoriented, fled the command center. Lyra and Alex moved quickly to secure the fortress. They freed prisoners, disarmed traps, and sent messages to Lyra's people, instructing them to secure the perimeter. Hours later, the fortress was fully under their control. Lyra stood atop the highest tower, looking down at the city below. The raiders were gone. The remaining soldiers either surrendered or fled, and her world was safe for now. Alex joined her. Leaning against the railing, his face smudged with dust and sweat, but smiling. "We did it," he said simply. Lyra turned to him, a mixture of relief and admiration in her eyes. "Yes, we did it. Together." The wind carried the sounds of victory. Lyra's people cheered from below, rallying around their princess and the strange human who had appeared from the sky. For the first time in years, hope felt real. "Your people. They trust you," Alex said, looking out at the city. Lyra nodded. "They do. And now, they will see that humans, at least you, are not to be underestimated. Alex shrugged with a small smile. Humans are good at surviving. We find ways to adapt, to think differently. It seems to work well here. Lyra laughed softly. You've changed the course of this battle, perhaps even the course of our future. As night fell, they walked through the fortress together, inspecting the city and checking for lingering threats. Soldiers and citizens alike approached them, offering gratitude, admiration, and cautious respect. Alex noticed the same awe that Lyra had first felt humans could survive, adapt, and fight in ways the aliens had never imagined. In the quiet moments, Lyra and Alex spoke of the future. Lyra explained the challenges her people faced even after the raiders were defeated. They would need to rebuild, fortify defenses, and prepare for new threats. Alex listened carefully, offering ideas, strategies, and inventive solutions. Together, they began forming a plan to strengthen the city and train defenders. You think they'll come back? Lyra asked, her voice tinged with concern. Alex shook his head. Maybe. But if they do, they'll find a very different world. One ready for them and one that won't be caught off guard. Lyra smiled, a rare moment of peace washing over her. And perhaps, humanity has a place here after all. Alex raised an eyebrow. I'm not sure about that, but I like helping where I can. Lyra felt a warmth she hadn't expected. She had fought countless battles, faced impossible odds, and seen many die in service of her world. Yet this human, strange, clever, fearless, had not only saved her life, but had given her people hope. He had shown her that strength was not only in arms, but in ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. Days passed. Lyra's people rebuilt the fortress, strengthened defenses, and trained new warriors under her guidance. Alex continued to assist, teaching strategies and tactics, sharing human ingenuity that blended seamlessly with Lyra's people's fighting skills. The fortress became a symbol not just of victory, but of alliance of two worlds working together to overcome a greater threat. One evening, atop the rebuilt walls, Lyra and Alex watched the twin suns set. The sky burned in shades of orange and pink, casting long shadows across the city. You've changed everything, Lyra said softly. Alex smiled. We've changed everything together. Lyra nodded, realizing that this human from another world had become more than an ally. He had become a symbol of hope, courage, and unity. Together, they had shown that, even against overwhelming odds, survival, adaptation, and ingenuity could triumph. The stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Lyra felt a quiet pride in her people and in the human who had fallen from the sky to fight alongside her. She knew their world was safe for now, but she also knew that with humans like Alex, anything was possible. Tomorrow, Alex said, looking at the stars, we make sure this never happens again. We make your world stronger than ever, Lyra smiled, and we do it together. As the night deepened, the fortress stood tall, a beacon of hope and strength. The raiders had been defeated, the people inspired, and a bond formed between two very different worlds. Lyra felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years, knowing that with courage, intelligence, and a little human ingenuity, even the impossible could be overcome. And somewhere in the quiet night, Lyra silently thanked fate for the human who had fallen from the sky. Who had asked so casually, mind if I join the fight? Indeed, he had joined in together. They had changed everything.